Okay, I'm just going to quickly demonstrate how to use this UI tool to set up a lecture. So I'm going to go into Add Lecture and give it a lecture reference, which is the sort of root path on the FMS server. So I'm going to use SO9 Simpson 3. As you can see, I've tested this one. And so it's going to assume the same folder structure that you've already been using. And it's got 19 slides, and I'll just enter a time for each slide. And this is in seconds. I could change this to give you like minute, hour, minute, second, or something like that. I find that entering that sort of data into a web form is kind of annoying because you've got the colons to deal with, and then JavaScript tries to make life easier for you and usually doesn't. So, but that's an option. I could also draw the slides on the side if that's helpful at all. Okay, I hit submit. Now if I go into list lectures, I'll see that lecture there. And if I click view, it's actually going to take me right into the viewer and load that lecture in. You'll see there's a URL up here, and that is a unique URL for this lecture, so that's something that could be linked to from Web Vista or whatever. We will need to do a little work to sort out the X500 authentication stuff because the FMS server seems to require X500 authentication in order to load any of your assets. So that's something we'll have to look into. So I'll go ahead and hit play, and you'll see at 5 seconds in or whatever I entered, it'll pop up the first slide. You'll notice that it's actually loading the wrong slide in this case, and that's because on the server the SO9 Simpson 3 doesn't have the 0 padded slides, and so it's gone and found slide 10 instead of slide 1 because the server saw that I had an invalid URL and rewrote it for me, but again, that's just something that's fixed by having the 0 padding, so nothing to worry about there. Alright, so that's all working, and we can drag things around and all that's great. Now, what about adding quiz questions? If I go back here, I can go into Add Question, choose SO9 Simpson 3 from the drop-down, and add some question text, like how can I learn to dance? You can see I've already tried that question as well. I'm not very clever here. And I'll have it show up at 12 seconds or so, and there are 4 possible answers. So the first answer is buy a book, watch TV, just groove, and you can't. Alright, and of course the correct answer is just groove. So click submit. That question's now been entered in the database, and now if I go back to that lecture and load it in again and hit play, at 12 seconds in, I think that's what I said for it, we should see that quiz pop up. Great. Okay, and I'm going to choose the right answer because I know that it is just groove, and I'll click submit here. And the lecture continues on. Everything's great. Now if I go back and do export grades, I can choose to export grades for that lecture and click submit. And what it's actually done is downloaded a CSV file in the sort of Web Vista compatible format. If I open that in a text editor here, you'll see it just has my user ID and the score I got on that lecture, which is 1 out of 1. So this is always going to be a 1 based entry, so it might be a decimal, 0.75 or 0.66 or whatever, depending on how many I got right out of the total. So that's about it. I'll send you a link to this as well, and I think you're in good shape to start adding lectures whenever. We'll clear up some of the X500 authentication stuff, and it should be all set.